Giassizada saves the day. We always had faith. We always had faith. Hello and welcome to the Quick Take Hot Take Total Soccer Show after the USA's 1-0 win over Ecuador. Darryl Grove, I'm joined by Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello, I didn't realize we were trolling right out of the gate.
I'm kind of trolling ourselves.
Are you?
Kind of trolling ourselves.
All right.
Yeah. So, the US beat Ecuador 1-0. This is the Quick Take Hot Take. We've only watched the game once. We're going to rewatch. There'll be a full review later. We're going to give our initial impressions, some of which may be incorrect. So let's get the asterisk there at the top. We'll double check our work
That's
later.
how it works with the Quick Take Hot Take. We got to discuss our general impressions from the game, what some of our takeaways were, some questions we still have.
Yeah.
We try to go back and look at the game again and figure out if we can answer those questions or see some things we didn't see in the beginning.
Yep, and today's
Or the
Quick
first
Take,
few, rather.
Today's Quick Take Hot Take is sponsored by Roughneck Scarves,
Yeah, it is.
official providers of US Soccer Scarves.
This is true.
If you want to take a look at roughneckscarves.com, you can see the full collection of US Men's National Team scarves, also US Women's National Team scarves. Use the code Total Soccer Show for 20% off.
Do it.
Do it. All right, so Taylor, after watching that game, how do you feel? I guess I always like to start Quick Take Hot Take with some emotion.
I guess like underwhelmed, but not like upset about the results. I basically am like, I kind of wish that game were a little bit different or maybe could be replayed because I would like more to talk about, I think.
Interesting.
There's not as much to talk about as I think I thought there would be.
That's interesting. Well, what are you expecting to be able to talk about?
I feel like I thought we would see either a very similar game plan to what we saw in the January camp, and I feel like we did kind of see that, but I thought there would be a little bit more variation or just a few things that were like, okay, with this person playing that position or this person playing that instead of that, what's that going to mean? And instead, I think it was like maybe the one deviation was that they kind of kept Tyler Adams out wide as a full right back for the first like 15 minutes or so, it looked like. Then he moved central.
So we're pretty sure that was a deliberate thing where he just stayed wide the first 15. Maybe there'd been so much talk about Tyler Adams going right back to midfield that they knew that Ecuador would know about it. So maybe we just tricked them by... or maybe it was just trolling all of Twitter to just keep Tyler Adams as an actual right back for the first 15 minutes.
I mean, I would say, like, gamesmanship-wise, my guess would be that maybe it's, Ecuador expects it to be that right back goes central. Yeah. Then when he doesn't, maybe they change their game plan a little bit. Maybe they get a little bit complacent in not following him. Then when Tyler Adams starts doing it, in the ideal scenario, that like player who was marking him or was staying further forward lets him go, and now you do kind of consistently have numbers through the middle.
Yeah.
And I think to some extent that was the case. The problem was that when you had Will Trapp and Tyler Adams move central together, it felt like there wasn't a lot ahead of them to aim for.
Yes.
And I don't mean in terms of like the quality that people have talked about with the attacking options, but just more so legitimate options. It felt like there was kind of consistently a flat four, like or a front four that was pretty pressed up on Ecuador's kind of bunkered defense, and then not a lot of other options to aim for.
Yeah, my one take, the big take I had was you had, so wide left, you have Paul Arriola, and then Christian Pulisic, who should have been centre left, was instead also drifting wide left, and then you got Jordan Morris wide right, and Weston McKennie, who should be centre right, is also drifting wide right.
Yeah.
So Ecuador had all those bodies in that low block where they had lots of men like basically in their penalty area and just above. And we almost surrendered that space and put too many people out wide.
Yeah.
So there were very rarely, or not as often as you would like, balls available into that sort of attacking midfield spot because Pulisic and McKennie had gone wide looking for space there.
I agree. And I think with that in mind, I actually want to change my reaction. I think I'm realizing I'm not saying like I think this is a great result. I'm not saying it was even a very good result. But I'm realizing now that it was playing against an Ecuador team that we kind of struggled to try to figure out why are they playing such bunkered defense. It's not like the United States is Germany or Brazil.
And because it's just a friendly.
Yeah, why are they sitting so deep? Why are they playing for 0-0 draw? I think your point when we were talking about this was that maybe they're preparing for Copa America and that's going to be their defensive strategy. So
also,
you test it here.
Also, their coach is Hernando Gomez. And we've seen Panama play.
Yeah.
And that's how they did it. I think this is just his style. Yeah. And it maybe suits him, right? They have all those defensive midfielders, and they have a lot of like pace on the counter, and the plan is bunker and counter.
Yeah. But with that comes, I mean, there were big stretches of this game where the United States had possession, worked it from right to left and left to right, and kind of probed. It wasn't always as successful, and I think it led to a lot of maybe individual efforts, more so than kind of team possession in and around the 18. But when you're playing against a team that
just call Christian Pulisic by his name.
I mean, he was a big one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dribbles. I want to see his stats in terms of his take-ons, and I want to go back and maybe watch a few more of those duels. Because even like,
do you want to hear my guess, and we'll check it.
Sure.
We'll check it when we do the full take. I'm going to guess Pulisic was like he only played 60 minutes or so, right? 1 for 8 on dribbles.
Yeah,
one successful take on out of 8.
That I feel like maybe he didn't have as many as 8.
All right.
But I think that percentage is probably accurate.
Yeah.
Because even the ones I saw some people on Twitter very excited about that kind of 1v1 standoff he had with Antonio Valencia.
Yeah.
But I also don't.
I don't remember this.
I don't
look forward to
remember when Antonio Valencia opened his legs and was sort of saying like, "Go ahead and try to not make me."
I dare you to make me.
Yeah. And Pulisic, I think, read that correctly, in that was bait for Pulisic to then be wrecked as he tried to get around Antonio Valencia. But it's still.
And how did that end? Right, he went past him, then he tried to get past someone else, and he got blocked at the end line. Yeah.
And that felt like a kind of consistent thing that happened for the U.S. But it's still worth noting that that's against a team that we're trying to keep a clean sheet, trying to keep a scoreless draw. If they get a goal on the counter, that's great. So it did
Pulisic
feel
never had open field to dribble out and like one guy to beat in space. It was always a bunch of yellow shirts to try and go past. Yeah.
So in that regard, like it's I guess a better result that they were able to keep and hold on the ball, and they didn't just end up shooting from distance and trying nonsense stuff and trying a bunch of crosses, and those never came off. But it's still worrying that when it was against a bunker defense, which is what we should expect to play in a lot of our upcoming Gold Cup games, CONCACAF Nations League games, is it CONCACAF Nations League?
It is, then World Cup qualifying.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of that type of opponent. And so I think maybe that's then, to bring it full circle, where some of my like, meh reaction comes from is like, is a Giassi Zardes deflected shot that maybe should have been saved, probably should have been saved, that like secures the game? Is that enough for me to feel good about a 1-0 win over Ecuador? I don't know.
So here's one thing I feel slightly optimistic about is I had the same worry. I think I expressed this when we had the listener question about what will be the first thing people get frustrated about with Berhalter. And I said one of the things might be with this possession team and we try and break teams down. But if we come up against a good team that's really bunkered, we'll be like, oh, can we try something else? Can we not just put Alan Gordon in and aim long balls at his head instead? And it really felt like that for about 18 minutes, right? It felt like we were, I think I semi-tongue-in-cheek, but I kind of mean it now. We look like a very watered-down, bad version of Manchester City, where there's lots of possession, lots of men up high. Our centre-backs are like almost on top of their penalty area, making passes, but there's no penetration. The one reason I'm optimistic is I think the goal comes from a small tactical change that Berhalter actually makes, and that makes me feel really good about Berhalter's sort of tactical tinkering and ability or just willingness to not just stick to the system and the style and hope this works eventually, but try something else to try and mix it up.
Okay.
Yeah?
I think I
guess I'll explain what that was later.
I think I know where you're going to go with it, so I want to go there first. But I think I also have a counterpoint to that that I've just realized kind of, again, it's a wave of emotions here. But let's talk about what Berhalter did. I think it was a couple minutes before the goal, or what Berhalter did that you're referring to. A couple minutes before the goal, we can clearly see him telling everybody to get forward, to step forward.
Yeah.
What you
win
can hear,
second balls?
Yeah, what you can hear in the audio is like either win second balls or we'll worry about the second balls or we'll get the second balls. Either way, he's clearly telling his players to challenge more for 50-50 balls. I think he felt like they were starting to lose a little bit of that physical duel.
Yeah.
And it is the case that because they start stepping aggressively and trying to win those balls more readily, that's exactly what happens. It's a long ball out of the back from Ecuador. Tim Ream steps, chests it down, plays it into Giassi Zardes. Zardes turns, and eventually it's a goal.
And I think there's an extra layer than that, which is that when Ecuador did have the ball, we normally dropped back into not a low block, but a medium block 4-4-2, where essentially we would... So Pulisic and Zardes were the highest for most of the time, right? We would basically wait till the halfway line before we started challenging them because the point is to be compact, right? And I think what Berhalter asked them to do in the last 10 minutes, maybe slightly before, we'll check when the change happens, is more or less press a little higher, right? Take some risks, go a little higher, challenge them higher. And that's what causes I can't remember who it is that's challenging the defender, but it's like almost the edge of their own area where we're making it hard for them and they have to play that long ball that Ream steps and wins, right? So it's at least a tactical tweak to push higher, make it harder for them and do it that way.
Two things though. One, do you know why you don't remember who it was who was doing that pressure? Because we didn't see it. Because we only saw it on the replay.
Oh, we were
busy watching a guy play drums.
Yes, we were.
Good stuff.
I was actually watching the guy who was chanting USA but texting at the same time.
He was doing that a lot in the game. They cut to him a few times. It seemed to be a recurring thing for him. Here is my sort of counterpoint that I've just realized though, is if were there an Ecuadorian version of the Total Soccer Show and they were breaking down every single Ecuador game? But I don't know if there is. We shall see. I think that they're yelling at that right back, I assume it was, who played that ball forward because it clearly wasn't what they were supposed to be doing. And I think that was probably an individual error that he tried to force a long ball or like a direct ball when it wasn't really on and they had finally committed a few numbers forward. And he turns it over and now they're vulnerable. So I guess I go back to, it's not like we figured them out and sort of found out.
We forced an error.
What's that?
We forced an error.
We did,
by
but
pressing when we weren't pressing before.
But I think it was also that they then, it's not as though we got the ball back and they had 6 people behind the ball and Gyasi Zardes found a way through, or we then caught them in a little bit of a transition and passed our way through. It was basically they had committed, it was the one time they committed numbers forward, we then got the ball and were able to do something with it.
So maybe the takeaway is that, okay, we're watching the Berhalter system, the possession system, the positional play, trying to balance something in action, and it essentially didn't do enough to break down an Ecuador defense, and it only succeeded when something else happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. But at least something else happens. That's my silver lining.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree. I think it's just because of the nature of the goal, because it's deflected, because it maybe should have been saved, and maybe this is a thing we'll look at when we do the more in-depth replay. Is should that ball? We've
literally only seen this when ESPN replayed it.
Exactly.
So we've seen it happen live. We saw the ESPN replay, and that's it so far.
Yeah, right? Because my question remains: is should that ball have gone back to Sebastian Lletget, who had made a very good run at the far post?
Yeah.
And if you kind of play that reverse pass, Lletget is on, and then if he scores, maybe it's a more like worked goal that seems like it could actually happen consistently, as opposed to a deflected shot that happens to go in. And this is the confusing thing. Is like we're on the one hand, I'm saying I guess it's frustrating in the end of the day because I wanted to see Gyasi Zardes. I think what we talked about is things we want to see.
Yeah.
I wanted to see him score a goal to justify like he deserves to be here. See, he can do it. He can do the run. He can do the hold up play. I thought he did a decent job of that.
Yeah.
But then he can also score a goal. And of course, he scores this weird, deflected, should have been saved goal. So it doesn't really answer that question of can he score the goal.
But sometimes, like, a goal scorer's job is just to make a goal happen no matter what. And even when we both thought he made the wrong decision, but the ball ends up in the back of the net, right? Because it takes that deflection and goes over. And he's definitely on the score sheet, right? Because even though it's very much the defender's deflection over the keeper, it's an initial shot on target, so it doesn't matter where it goes afterwards as long as it ends up in the net.
You're right. And if that's Clint Dempsey a couple years ago forcing that shot and then it goes in the way it does, that's us saying,
oh, Dempsey tries stuff.
Dempsey just tries stuff. Yeah. Count on Clint Dempsey to make something happen. Even a fluky goal, Dempsey finds a way. Yeah.
I'm also glad for Zardes because there was the offside goal that Areola scored at the end. I think because Morris was offside. I'd like to take a second look at that, see if he actually was offside. But Morris does fire in a beautiful ball in the 6-yard box into the feet of Gyasi Zardes, and Zardes kind of misses it, right?
There's no kind of about it. I mean, he gets a body part to it, but yes.
Well, that's why I actually said miff, because I was halfway between whiff and miss. So he miffed it, and then Paulie Areola finished for him at the far post.
Initially I thought maybe there was a chance that because it was Jordan Morris who was offside, I think at first the commentators thought it was Zardes when Morris plays that ball in, and so maybe that was the expectation. But going back and watching it, I thought maybe there was a chance that like Zardes saw the flag go up and just thought like, oh, it doesn't really matter.
We kind of hoped that was the case, right?
It didn't look like it. It looks like he's trying to make an active run and try to get a foot to the ball and doesn't end up doing it.
So that moment was great. I think everything else from Zardes was actually really good. Including scored the goal, some nice link-up play. We'll take another look to see his movement and see how much connection he made and all that.
The silence there was me staring into my microphone and thinking, listeners, and my answer is, I don't know. I don't. That's the thing. That's what I keep going back to it, is like, I don't feel confident saying Gyasi Zardes had a really good game. I don't feel confident saying he had a bad game. And so I feel that way with a lot of these players. I don't even know if watching it again will help me. I think it's just because the game felt like it was sort of a little bit all over the place and a little bit the U.S. doing what they wanted to do, but then the U.S. getting frustrated and then this goal happening the way it did. I don't know if it answered as many questions as I expected to have answered coming out of this game. One thing that it didn't answer for me is that I am okay with DeAndre Yedlin as that wide attacker.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should talk about this because basically, it won't be hard to guess this, but more people listen to our full review than they listen to this one. So we'll mention this again. We were wrong about Yedlin, right? Because we thought maybe people had misinterpreted Berhalter's comments, and he actually wasn't going to play on the wing. He was just going to play as a regular fullback.
I said I think he gets 15 minutes in this game playing wide on the wing.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I'm saying that one up front. Yes.
All right, so only half of us.
He got 22 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Is what
so
it ended up being.
Actually, let's do it this way. So quick take-out take before we rewatch. Just quick impressions of players' performances. I'm going to start with Yedlin since you have. I thought Yedlin was really good on the wing.
I thought he was.
Put in at least one good cross.
Yes. And I hesitate to say this because I've already gone on record in the past, but I think he looked better to me because we were comparing him to Jordan Morris. And I think it
wasn't a great game for Jordan Morris, was it?
It wasn't. I mean, there's the obvious one where he loses his marker and ends up being probably Ecuador's second best chance until Tim Ream tries to one-up him with a bad pass there.
Oh, we're winning. I'll try my Cruyff turn.
Yeah. But the one that stood out to me was that Sebi Salazar said that Berhalter was like basically in Morris's ear the entire half of, you've got to stay wide, we need you wide, stay wide, get on the touchline. And Yedlin comes in, and that's pretty much all he does. And does it well. I mean, he makes smart runs, he's running hard, he works back and wins tackles. But he stayed wide. He put in a few crosses. It wasn't the best one that the goalkeeper kind of miscontrolled, and it ended up almost being more than a half chance. I think he was aiming for Jassy Zardes, but still, he's in there getting the ball in. And it did make him look better to me because it was basically stay wide, be fast on the counter, cross the ball when it's on.
John Brooks, we thought was flawless almost. Aaron Long, maybe literally flawless. I was really also impressed with Ecuador had the threat on the counter. We had enough pace in the back to always deal with it. Reem's the only non-fast player back there. Long, actually, I'm not sure how fast Brooks is, but Adams also made up a lot of ground, a lot of times from a long way away. I actually think that was a really smart choice to have Long over Miazga in the end. We maybe should have thought about this in our preview, that it's the correct choice to have Long because he's faster than Miazga to catch anybody on the counter. Now Miazga, I'm almost thinking his third choice centre-back because Long was so good.
Let's hold off. Let's hold off on jumping to massive conclusions off of January camp and then one game.
I should fold back up my jump to conclusions back.
Yes. He's a horrible idea.
Tyler Adams at right back and centre mid. I thought maybe it wasn't looking good for a hot minute. Towards the end of the game, especially as he got forward more, and then even better when Ecuador tried to press and space opened up, you saw what Tyler Adams can do with a little bit of space.
I feel like it didn't look good when he was playing as an actual dedicated right back in those first 15 minutes. And I do wonder if maybe that was, I don't really wonder this, but I like the idea that it was maybe him being like, see, I can't play right back. Don't keep me here.
His first 15 is going to be rough, Greg.
It is. And there were still moments of, he seems to like that sort of surprise tackle almost. It's like a jump scare that he goes for where he kind of jumps at the player.
He just closes so fast that people don't know it's coming.
Except that when they do, they then are able to take 2 touches and they get around that tackle, and now he is very much out of position. So I saw that on a few occasions that made me not love him kind of slowing things up in transition or not slowing things up in transition. But I would say, overall, he did what I expected him to do, which is look fine when he was doing his defensive job, getting more involved.
More than fine.
Yeah, and I think he made smart choices on the ball. I think he went simple when the situation required it, and he tried some more elaborate things when it was available.
All right. Are you ready to go back and do the rewatch and publish the big show later on?
I am, but first, I would like to remind everybody one more time that this Quick Take Hot Take is brought to you by our old friends at Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf providers of, as Daryl said, U.S. Soccer, men's and women's. They got lots of different options there. For them on the women's side, they've got all the individual player scarves. So maybe if this game didn't kind of satisfy your desire for a hard-hitting, winning team, maybe you get a women's scarf, and then you can support that team as they do big things this summer.
Also, Roughneck Scarves, men's and women's national team scarves, equally priced.
This is true.
Just saying. Just saying. The discount code, again, if you go to roughneckscarves.com, is Total Soccer Show, or one word. That gets you 20% off anything you see.
And one more reminder that they're also the official scarf provider of the NCAA. March Madness started today, rather. So, maybe you want to support that team that you've decided is going to win the whole thing or make it to the Final Four. I got them winning the first game. Not sure about that Duke game.
All right. So March Madness, great, but let's get to some March Gregness.
There we go.
Let's go and rewatch that game.